Blair Best. Tonight on The Story, we begin inside Oregon Children's Theater Rehearsal Hall in Northeast Portland. But instead of rehearsing for a play, they're breaking down the space in the middle of closing it as they fight to try and make ends meet.
It's a major part of the ecosystem, and if we are no longer here, it's not great.
I feel like it's a big old kick in the teeth of like losing something so precious.
But they're not alone. How far the Children's Theater and other local theaters are going to try and pay the bills. It's our big story tonight. But before we get to that story, we have a weather impact alert going on right now for a storm system moving through the region. Meteorologist Rod Hill joins us with a look at what's happening right now. Rod?
Well, so far, Blair, this has not been as bad as the possibilities have been. But in fact, we've seen lightning in the area in scattered locations going back to the 4 o'clock hour, which we did expect. And we have the severe thunderstorm watch out from the Weather Service from about Eugene running all the way up towards Seattle. It does not include for a severe thunderstorm threat the immediate coast, but you folks have seen some lightning strikes. Everything is moving south to north as expected, and we'll take you in closer. And here is lightning. I tell you what, a lot of it out over the Olympics up in Washington, a big cluster that's now moving again up through Clark County. We've got some lightning strikes outside of McMinnville over the Coast Range. This is the second round of pretty good thunderstorms up in the battleground area. And you can see some heavy rain that may be producing hail where you see the bright colors down around Salem. So what has not happened yet is Portland has been the most quiet spot in the universe. The storms have mainly been up in Vancouver and then fizzling around Salem and then running up the Coast Range and really exploding at times up over Clark County. Again, the severe thunderstorm threat, the watch from the Weather Service continues up through 9 p.m. tonight. So all of us could see some storms yet. Again, the risk factors are gusty winds. We've already had winds gusting to 45 miles per hour with the storms in Clark County. We could still have hail of 1 inch in diameter. I've not seen reports of that, but we have had small hail in the area. And some of these are producing torrential downpours as well. So all of that continues to be a threat. I do want to let you know, once we pass midnight tonight, the storm threat is over. Showers will continue, and tomorrow's finally back to normal. After back-to-back days reaching 80, starting tomorrow, we're back down mainly into the 50s with just rain at times coming in. So, Blair, the storm threat is there, but so far it's been scattered, and Portland is waiting to see if we're going to get a show yet or not.
Okay, Rod, thanks, and we'll keep an eye on that hail, potentially. All right, we want to turn now to Catherine Cook, who is in Drive 8 for us tonight. Catherine, you were along I-5 south of the Metro earlier this evening. Tell us, where are you now and how are the conditions?
Good evening, Blair. We are on I-84 West, just approaching downtown Portland here. Let me flip the camera so you can see. And you can have a look there. There's some dark skies, some dark clouds, but also really beautiful sun breaks here. And it is raining lightly, though the rain is picking up, as you might be able to see. For sure what Rod said, hey, we dodged a bullet here in the Portland Metro, but you never know. Things might get exciting here in the next half hour or so, but truly it is not shaping up to be the storm we might have had. As you mentioned, Blair, we were down in the Woodburn area earlier, and we saw some rain, some dark clouds, but definitely not the large-sized hail that we were thinking we might see down there. So again, good news for those folks as well. But back up here in the Portland Metro, smooth sailing as folks head home during this rush hour as it comes to a close, and definitely not the spring storm we thought we might get, but hey, we'll take that win. Back to you.
All right, Catherine Cook, thanks so much. And we'll be checking back in with Rod Hill later on in the show, but we want to get to our other big story tonight. The Oregon Children's Theater is taking a drastic step later this year as they struggle to make ends meet. And the funding problems are not unique to OCT, as other theater groups are forced to get creative to try and keep the curtains from closing for good.
So we built a theater space deck basically in the rehearsal hall. And now we're having to tear it all down. What you're seeing here is obviously our move out prep. We're moving out on Friday.
Not exactly what artistic director Jen Hartman Luck had hoped for the Oregon Children's Theater this year.
I think our community is going to be heartbroken.
Starting September 1st, all of the children's theater programming will be put on pause as they try and raise enough money to pay the bills.
Everything. That is going to be all of our shows, all of our acting academy programming, our young professionals programming, and all of our in-school programming. We are also launching a $1 million fundraising campaign.
Until they reach that $1 million goal, acting class for dozens of teens will end.
These are the headshots of the 50-plus young people, the teens who are in our young professional company.
And over 100,000 children won't get to see an OCT play. That's roughly how many kids sit in their audience each year.
We don't have a choice. We must make these decisions because we cannot keep on business as usual.
The theater's financial woes come as no surprise.
Oregon Children's Theater has been on a ride since even before COVID.
Yet the pandemic, she says, exposed the theater's vulnerable bottom line. For 35 years, they've relied heavily on donations and ticket sales.
To steal from our improv friends, it's a yes and. I mean, what the pandemic revealed for so many small nonprofit arts organizations especially was how so many of us were just held together with Scotch tape and glue sticks because we were always one show away from being in real financial trouble.
That glue has dried up. Since pandemic years, money from donors has dropped, and so have ticket sales. Meanwhile, rent for rehearsal space and performances has gone up.
It's not fun. I feel like it's a big old kick in the teeth of like losing something so precious.
And they're not alone.
We refocused our population that we're serving away from audiences and onto artists.
At Coho Productions in Northwest Portland, they've scaled back large shows and built an artist resource center, a space people pay to use to create new material.
But we get a lot more funding from grantors and donors because they believe in the Artist Resource Center.
A Third Rail Repertory Theater is one of 3 small companies that share performance space with Coho Productions. Another way to keep costs down.
Like it really is like thinking collaboratively, thinking collectively. How do we hold each other to, all boats rise idea.
But those behind the curtain believe there's a bigger issue at play.
But the arts are being starved out and unsupported by our government.
There's been a movement away from really valuing the arts.
Where money is over and over again not given to the arts. The arts are never prioritized. Historically, they've never been prioritized, but especially now.
It is the youth of Portland that lose. It is the children of this community and generations of young people and their families who lose, they lose the really, really valuable experience of seeing stories come to life.
And I'm a theater girl at heart, so I know the joy of live performance well, the impact it had on me as a child, and still to this day. Now, as for the Oregon Children's Theater pause on all programming, that again starts September 1st. Now, I asked them how long it would last, and they don't know yet. It all depends on how quickly they can raise that $1 million, but they tell me that's not even enough to keep them going long term. Basically, it's another Band-Aid. So when they do come back, whenever that may be, there is a chance their programming will be limited at first. They are finishing out their current season, so all summer programs will continue, and the artistic director is now looking at how she can get involved at the state level to see if those dollars can make their way to the children's theater stage, and will certainly be following those efforts. Okay, now it's your turn to chime in. We would love to hear any of your beloved children's theater memories and how you feel about the importance of performing arts. Let us know. Email us at thestory@kgw.com or call and leave a voicemail, 503-226-5090. Portland Public Schools and the Oregon School Activities Association are now targets of a federal investigation by the Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights. The feds are accusing them of violating Title IX protections. This all stems from a transgender student athlete competing in girls' track and field meets this year and last, while also being allowed to use the girls' locker room while other athletes were in there changing. The move by the feds comes from President Trump's executive order aimed at keeping transgender women and girls out of female sports. Schools that don't comply risk losing federal funding. Alma McCarty has the story.
On Tuesday, the superintendent for Oregon's largest school district got word that the U.S. Department of Education opened an investigation into both PPS and the OSAA, following a complaint made to the Office for Civil Rights. Federal officials say a transgender student athlete competed both this year and last in girls' track and field meets and argue that's a violation of Title IX, a federal law that prohibits discrimination on the basis of sex in any federally funded education program. Craig Traynor, acting assistant secretary for Civil Rights, said in a statement they will use every lawful means to ensure that no female athlete is denied equal athletic opportunities or robbed of her rightful accolades. OSAA told KGW they are consulting with legal counsel on how to respond. Dr. Kimberly Armstrong, PPS's superintendent, said they're also working with legal and state partners to navigate the issue, stating the district is in full compliance with Oregon state law, which may differ from federal guidance. She also stressed, quote, "My commitment and our district's commitment to doing what's right for all students, especially those most vulnerable, remains unwavering." Some state Republicans applauded the move, including Representative Christine Drazen, who wrote in a statement, "Treating every student with dignity, safety, and respect means defending fair competition in women's sports."
Well, coming up next on the story, it's a climate lawsuit caught up in the legal system for nearly a decade. Young Oregonians arguing the country's reliance on fossil fuels violates their constitutional rights. That years-long battle has come to an end thanks to a decision by the U.S. Supreme Court. And we're giving you now another live look at the radar during this weather impact alert. Meteorologist Rod Hill has another update. That's when the story returns. a legal battle that KGW covered for nearly a decade, and one that faced pushback from 3 presidential administrations finally came to an end this week after the U.S. Supreme Court declined to hear the case. Back in 2015, 21 young Oregonians, including an 8-year-old, sued the federal government for operating a fossil fuel-based energy system. Their suit claimed the government's role in climate change violated their constitutional right to a healthy and life-sustaining climate. The case was called Juliana v. United States, named after one of the young activists. Now, the case worked its way through the legal system for years. Back in 2020, it was dismissed by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, who ruled policies around climate change should be left up to politicians, not judges. But that was not the end of the lawsuit. A U.S. district judge in Eugene later ruled the case could go to trial, but the case was once again dismissed at the request of the Biden administration. So, as a last-ditch effort, the plaintiffs asked the U.S. Supreme Court to hear the case, which they declined. Despite that high court decision, those behind the suit believe it still made an impact. The chief legal counsel for the nonprofit firm that represented the plaintiffs said in a statement this week, it has empowered young people to demand their constitutional right to a safe climate and future. Now, according to the firm's website, this Oregon case has inspired over 60 youth-led climate lawsuits around the world. One of the plaintiffs, who grew up in Beaverton, said, "For almost 10 years, we've stood up for the rights of present and future generations, demanding a world where we can not only survive, but thrive. We've shown the world that young people will not be ignored, and I'm incredibly proud of the impact Juliana v. United States has made." All right, let's bring back meteorologist Rod Hill for another extended look at the radar and what you should expect heading into the rest of your Wednesday night. Rod?
Real quickly, I remember when that story made news. I appreciate the update that you just gave us.
Thanks for paying attention.
Yeah, thank you. Well, let's get some eyes on the weather, shall we? This is our live camera out in Salem. Raindrops, but so far no storms in the city itself. 62. I do want to point out that just south into Albany, we have had some lightning. And in fact, one viewer sending us what they believed may have been a tornado at around 5:30 this afternoon. We checked our radar imagery. Lightning in the area at 5:30 in Albany and some slight rotation. Weather Service not getting reports on that storm, but we're still looking into that. All right, here's our Rose City sky camera. We've been looking to the south all evening. We're at 69. If you haven't heard, the high today was 82. Warmest temperature ever in the month of March, and obviously a record for today's date. Here is the severe thunderstorm watch. The Weather Service put this out back this afternoon in the 3 o'clock hour. It's up until 9. I think they'll probably leave it in their own discussion. They said they'll probably leave it up through 9 p.m. Absolutely, we're seeing lightning in the area. We've had at least 45-mile-per-hour winds in some of these storms. According to radar, we've likely had some hail and certainly some heavy wind, but nothing over the top, with the exception of that potential rotation that I just told you about down in Albany. So heavy showers, on guard for at least some 1-inch size hail. Don't believe we've had that yet. Wind gusts already to 45 in some of these storms. The impact alert here from KGW up until midnight, because I think that's when the lightning threat itself extends to. And always be on guard that these storms can very rapidly dump copious amounts of rain. You can pick up an inch sometimes in these thunderstorms in like 30, 40 minutes. Then you get some rapid flash flooding. Everything is moving south to the north as we expected it to. And where you see the bright colors, those are the heavy rain areas. And we've had lightning. It's just that, if you're watching us from here in Portland, Portland has been one of the most quiet places in the universe today. We've had storms south, we've had storms north, but not much in the Rose City. You can see some strikes on this wider view down around Salem and out over the Coast Range. We've had several episodes of thunderstorms moving through Clark County. Here are the latest strikes. You get the strikes, right? The little yellow flashy icons there, moving north of Battleground right now. We've actually had strikes as far north as north of Seattle. Futurecast keeps a storm threat alive this evening. Everything moving south to north. This is 8 o'clock. The bright colors, some heavy rain. Still at 11:30, some heavy rain, maybe some small hail, at least an outside chance of some thunderstorms. Once we get past midnight, I think any realistic chance of stormy weather will be over. Here's just the wider viewpoint. And I'll play this one into Thursday for you. So the storm threat ends no later than midnight tonight. Here's tomorrow, just bits and pieces of rain continuing to work through. I don't think there's a concerning storm threat tomorrow, but we will see heavy rain rates pass at times, and we'll be back down into a more normal temperature pattern, which means highs no more than about 60 degrees. The coast, the storm threat ending this evening, mid-50s tomorrow, southwest winds 10 to 25 miles per hour. The valley, anywhere from 56 to about 60 tomorrow. Again, the storm threat through about midnight tonight. Thursday, heavy showers at times, southeast to south winds, 10 to 25 miles per hour. And here's Portland's 7-day. I think whatever rain we end up with tomorrow, we won't get as much Friday. Friday looks to be more of a gentle shower day. Saturday, some breaks with a shower chance, but lots of dry time. In fact, we could be all dry Saturday night and Sunday morning, and then rain develops Sunday afternoon. And then we've got some rain in the forecast with highs in the 50s into Wednesday. That is your update. A reminder of the severe thunderstorm watch up until 9 p.m. We continue to see lightning in the area, Blair.
Okay, Rod, thanks. I'm looking forward to Saturday. Okay, coming up on the story, an update to a story we have followed for a few months here on the show. The longest running weekly newspaper in the state of Washington, printing for nearly 150 years, recently shut down after the owner retired, but then the community stepped in. That's next when the story returns. Well, the KGW Great Food Drive is going on now, and we need your help to meet our goal of more than 1 million meals. So far, we've collected enough donations to provide more than 850,000 meals for our community. But we're not done yet, and it's easy to give. Just go to kgw.com/food drive and give online. Plus, when you donate online, get this, you receive a pass to the Columbia Sportswear Employee Store. Way cool. We want to thank local Toyota dealers, Pacific Office Automation, Rivermark Community Credit Union, and Safeway for supporting this year's food drive. Now, these are difficult days for local journalism, especially when it comes to print. Newspapers across the country are closing, but one community in Washington is fighting to keep it alive. The small town of LaConner in Skagit County had a local weekly paper since 1879. Yep, you heard that right, 1879. Nearly 150 years. That paper recently disbanded, but Eric Wilkinson shows us how the small community refused to stop the presses.
I used to know everybody who lived on all these streets, but not anymore.
Bill Reynolds grew up in LaConner. Now, at 67 years old, it's his first day on the job as a paper boy.
So darn nearsighted.
Today is the first day of delivery for the LaConner Community News, keeping a journalistic tradition that's always connected the people here.
Wow, it's kind of the heartbeat of a community.
Bill's old employer was the LaConner Weekly News, whose owner recently retired, leaving the town without an independent paper for the first time in 146 years.
You'd lose that connection if you don't have a community publication.
But townspeople wouldn't let it go. They raised money and worked to find someone to save the paper.
Thank you. We're really excited.
That person is Carrie Marr of Lake Forest Park. Carrie has a journalism background herself and saw an opportunity to make a difference at a time when facts and accuracy are critically important.
I think it's true that this couldn't be done in a lot of other communities, but there are very few communities like LaConner.
What's happening here in LaConner truly is something special. Newspapers across the country and here in Washington are folding at an alarming rate. Over the past 20 years, more than 3,200 newspapers have vanished nationwide. Since 2004, Washington State has lost 20% of its local papers. The situation's so dire, a bill is being considered in Olympia that would tax social media platforms and search engines to help the state's struggling newsrooms. And as the headlines hit the doorsteps of LaConner, there is hope for success. The publication already has more than 900 subscribers in a community of less than 1,000.
Hopefully I don't miss any doorsteps.
By the way, this volunteer delivery boy is also a reporter for the paper. Bill Reynolds, proud his hometown paper is home once again.
It's pretty remarkable, the spirit of the people of this community.
Never underestimate the power of community. That's the end of our show, folks. Thanks so much for watching. A special edition of KGW News is coming your way next, including the latest on the weather moving through. If you ever miss an episode of the story at 6:30, we re-air the episode at 8:30 and 10:30 p.m. over on our TV app, KGW Plus, which you can get right now for free. It's on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV. In the meantime, stick around for more weather coverage right after the break, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow night at 6:30.